morning, lots of conversations have taken place, but to address the elephant in the room, I don't think this conversation is complete without taking women truly into account on various fronts. And what a last few weeks it has been. We also talk at a very critical point. Operation Sindoor is still dominating minds, dominating conversations. It started because women in Pahalgam, women and children particularly, were sent back with a message. And to give a response to that, more and more women, and particularly two come to mind, that took center stage, and there was a response. Before I begin, I would really like the audience here to go back and remember two names, two faces. It is going to be of two people who have not left our minds. Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Singh, both of them have been the kind of representation India needed on so many fronts. And before I begin, please, if we can request everybody, So having set that context, really, Dr. Rashmi, since you work in J&K, let me start by asking you, have you noticed any particular sort of difference it makes to have a woman in a position where you're trying to get through conflict resolution, in a place where it is politically sensitive, in a place where communities have to be brought together?
Well,
Mike's right there.
you know, there are certain USPs which women certainly have. And that does help in situations which require, you know, anybody to have more patience, more empathy, you know, and ability to be able to, you know, build that trust and confidence and, you know, have a healing touch. And I think all women, my fellow panelists will also agree that women do possess this ability. And, you know, the kind of, you know, the empathy which is needed to be able to, you know, probably give that forward-looking, you know, agenda to a child in the home, to be able to comfort somebody, you know, to be able to give that emotional resilience to other fellow beings. So you need that, you know, human touch. So I think when we talk about like, you know, giving a balm, a human touch, so in situations like these, it's not only the ones who are very directly impacted, but there are many people who get impacted emotionally, you know, in any conflict-related situation. And that healing touch is important, which comes from a woman automatically, wherever she is.
Yeah. A human touch, a woman's voice, a woman's brain. They often say, when you want a job done, give it to a woman, it will be done, right? And which brings me to Ms. Mrinalini as well, where, you know, your role sort of bridges state and center. You work with a lot of tribes as well. In that position, what role do you think having a male administrator versus a female actually brings on?
First of all, thank you, News18, for giving me this opportunity. I'm really privileged to be in such august company today and speaking on a very important topic. You asked me specifically about tribals. I come from Odisha Cadre, which has one of the highest numbers of tribes living in a state. And I have worked as district collector in very remote areas of Odisha, which were predominantly tribal, like Malkangiri and Koraput. When I speak about IAS, I would say that by dint of our training and by dint of our backgrounds, in the sense that when we come into IAS, we come with a singular motive of public service, be it a man or a woman. So there is not much of a difference in approach towards minorities, towards underprivileged sections. Our jobs are kind of similarly and singularly aligned to serve these sections on priority. But when I speak about in a global sense, like Rashmi Madam said, women do bring a certain sensibility and sensitivity to the tasks they are assigned, especially in leadership roles. I'm just coming back from Harvard, having done a PhD in leadership, and there the entire focus is now on feminine leadership, which can be another name for emergent leadership or servant leadership, where the role of a leader is of an enabler, which is not have followers, but have make others fellow leaders and enable them, give them the power to make their own decisions. And it is a very collective kind of enabling leadership, which is called as feminine leadership. So the masculine leadership is usually identified with cutthroat competition, running others down, the typical corporate scenario. But the feminine leadership is all about inclusion, all about sensitivity, all about taking everybody along, empowering and enabling others. So if the world is moving towards feminine leadership, it's all the more better for all of us, and especially for the marginalized and underprivileged sections like tribals. So it is good to have feminine leadership rather than having females only. Thank you.
How many males were part of this feminine leadership class? I want to know.
There are many. We were almost 50%. We were just 8 of us in our PhD class, so half are women. And Harvard is known for, inclusion and DEI. So you would see a lot of women in Harvard.
I love what you said, because there was a time when it wasn't seen as a strength. It was seen as a weakness to be perhaps more feminine. It was seen as a soft skill perhaps, but it's lovely to see how even Howard is acknowledging it and saying that this is the need of the hour. You have the point.
I just wanted to add that a feminine leadership is not essentially confined to a woman. So a man can also display that power of feminine leadership by showing the attributes that we kind of attach with the feminine leadership.
That's true. That's true. Let me bring in Ms. Sohini as well. Ma'am, fintech leadership, largely male dominated. You are one of those few stars where we sort of look up to. Has it been difficult for you to navigate this space at all?
You're going right for the jugular, right? No, I think, so...
Just hold your mic a little closer, ma'am. Yeah.
Better? Yeah. Okay. So I think fintech is like at the intersection of finance and technology, right? So in finance, you've typically seen that it's been a subject or a field where there have been a lot of inspiring women leaders, and women have usually taken that as a choice of career. Technology, not so much. So when you come at the intersection of finance and tech and get to fintech, I think we have a lot of road that we need to travel. The interesting thing there is that it's not easy, but I guess that's the responsibility for people like me to be able to maybe empower, and I borrow a leaf from Dr. Mrinalini, what she just said, about that's where the feminine leadership needs to come to the fore. So how do we take that forward? I'll give an example of an initiative that was actually launched last year by other strong females in the fintech sector, which I plan to carry forward. It's called, it's part of the Global Fintech Forum, where there is a women's fintech forum specifically, which basically aims to bring together all the women, create a platform for giving them visibility. So I guess there is a lot that needs to be done, and it is the responsibility of people who have been able to make the journey slightly easier and cheer for the women, or make it more easy for other women to reach that
right
goal.
Definitely pave the way for others who will come. And what a movement it has been in the country, and if I can take it to you, Dr. Rashmi, on how far women have come in each of these sectors. Even in the IS space, we always see women topping the charts, cupping the highlights. But why does it happen that somewhere along the line we see those numbers coming down, and we fail to see them at the highest levels? We fail to see them at leadership levels. What do you think is lacking there?
Well, you began with giving some figures for the civil services. By the way, this year, out of 5 top ranks, there were 3 women.
Yes.
Out of 25 top ranks, there were 11 women. Yeah. So how do we make this assumption that women are not reaching the top? They are. You took 2 names who were informing the nation about what's going on, behind all the missiles and the bullets and drones and the story behind it. So how do we feel and how do we say that they are not there? They are very much there. It's just that we also need to recognize the leadership positions in diverse areas, which are umpteen in number. So if we start confining leadership, attributes and positions only to certain fields, it's not fair on the women who are leading the way, no matter what sector it is, be it space or defense or education, they are leading the way. And certainly, we need to go a long way ahead further too, where sky is the limit for every woman. It is today for many women, I would say, but we would want the similar opportunity to be availed of, in any part of the country, for any woman, any girl who is dreaming, and has the opportunity to be able to fulfill her dreams about her career, about her individuality, about her identity. So that is my sincere wish too. I hail from Bihar, and I've seen again, how things have gone a long, long way for girls earlier, deprived and denied of opportunities which their brothers will have. But today, there are certainly many, 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 many more role models coming, to be able to inspire
You say role
others.
models, which is so critical, because I often feel that representation is the key when it comes in these positions. I think one of the reasons why even Absindur spoke so loudly to people is because you saw two women with the calm, composure, and just go out and state the facts as is. I think that really matters. Dr. Mrinalini, would you agree that representation at this point is key to ensure that we've come a huge way, but to achieve that last leg, to ensure that the top CXOs, the top leaders, all of them also have women in boardrooms as well? That is going to hold the critical key?
That definitely is the case. I'll just give you some data, how legislation and affirmative action actually help garner more representation and empowerment for women. In 2017, the women CEO leadership in mid-level enterprises in India was just 7% in 2017, and currently it is 55%, which is one of the highest in the world. And currently in S&P 500 companies and listed companies, women on the board, now 95+% companies have at least one woman, because it was made mandatory in 2013, which is much higher than the global average of 8 to 9%, because when mandates are there, especially again for marginalized sections of the society, and women have been such one such section, it definitely improves the chances and opportunities women get in different fields. Let us speak about the reservation in Panchayati Raj institutions, 50% Sarpanch seats, notwithstanding the Sarpanch Pati phenomenon, because I know many women Sarpanches in Odisha who are educated, who are passionate, and who are driving the progress in their panchayats with their own endeavor and enterprise, and they don't need any crutches to move forward, because they were given that opportunity to come forward. So I spoke about boardrooms, I spoke about legislature, and now we are, I believe very soon in 2026, going to implement the Women Reservation Bill for reservation in the legislatures in Parliament. I hope it becomes a reality, because unless we give a push for women leaders to come forward and represent the populations they are representing, and also the women in their constituencies, and become a voice for them in August houses like the Parliament, things are not going to move much. Because another statistic I'm going to share is that women-centric scheme right now garner only 6.5% of total budget of the country. So when more women are there, of course, the focus is going to be more on women problems and women-centric schemes, and we might aim and we might hope for a better provision of budget for women-centric schemes. So things definitely change. Affirmative action definitely helps the marginalized sections, and we do need a little push to come forward, because once we are in a position of leadership, we don't do any less than any other gender. Thank you.
Don't do any less. So we've so far spoken about representation. We've spoken about participation, reservation. The other bit is about not just women finding the stage or getting a seat on the table, but actually ensuring that they own the room as well. I have three lovely ladies here. I'm sure you have anecdotes from your own journey on maybe younger age, where you entered a room and found out that things were seen differently, but once you did make your presence felt, it was different. I'm going to let Dr. Rashmi and Dr. Mrinalini think about that for a minute. But then, coming to Sohini then, is it an overstatement that women make better crisis managers, both at home and at work, or do you totally agree with it?
I think that should now be, it's not an overstatement. I think it should be recognized as a universal truth, or like some kind of law of, please feel free. I think, without going into at the home front, which I'm sure whether you're, man or woman, everybody would agree. I think it is by nature, because what you need in crisis is not to just add fuel to the fire. It's the ability to really separate the wheat from the chaff, really focus on what's important and work on that while getting everything else take a back seat, right? I think that's something which, call it genetic, DNA, wiring, but I guess women are better suited for it. So if you have a moment of crisis, and I think that's what even you spoke about it just recently in the context of Operation Sindoor, please put a woman front and center and she will solve it much better.
She will solve the problem. You don't have to be shy, ladies and gentlemen, to clap on that one, right? Yeah. Dr. Rashmi, thinking of anecdotes, taking back to your younger age?
Well, not as young. Yet, one anecdote, which was interesting was during a policy making, session itself, at the erstwhile Planning Commission, and, coming from very senior official that, well, you're working on women empowerment schemes. And it was a question of like further budgetary allocation to be made. And the question was, well, last year, this was the budget. So do you think women are empowered? Was that money used effectively enough? So that's the kind of question which made me actually not just reflect, but retort and respond out there in that forum, that it's not simple as so much money and how many empowered, because you see, it's not a quick fix. And there I had to actually talk at heart about what is meant by women empowerment. It is basically that it's the environment, the enabling environment. So what we have control on is just creating an enabling environment. We don't have control over somebody's emotions as to how empowered she feels, but we have control over creating level playing opportunities. We have control over making sure that we can remove the obstacles and the barriers which are there, which impede her full growth and development. That's all we control, and that's what we need to measure. How do we otherwise measure women's empowerment? That was my answer. Thank you.
Was it a man asking a question?
Of course, and maybe off the screen I'll give you the name and the position. Thank you.
All right, can't wait to know that. Dr. Mrinalini, you have anecdotes?
I do, because I think those anecdotes actually are part and parcel of our life, because our systems are inherently patriarchal. Whether it is leadership, whether it is services, whether it is media, whether it is, informal sector, agriculture and all, you see a lot of wage gap, you see a lot of very less participation of women in the workforce. All of these stem for, deep-rooted patriarchy, so we need a cultural shift, of course. But just by the way of telling you a story, my first selection was in customs, and in Customs Academy, I was very, I participated in debates, culture programs, I did well in academics, and after a culture program, the director at that time, he told me, wow, you're so talented, you're going to be an asset to your husband. So at that time, I was not very good at repartee. I'm very good at it now because now I'm experienced.
Today is your moment, ma'am. If Dr. Mrinalini back then had to give a good answer, a cogent reply, what would that be?
See, his words came true. I definitely am an asset to my husband. So his words are prophetic, and my husband, who is in police from the services, he does cherish me, and I cherish him in equal measure. So these kinds of statements, we take it in our strides on a daily basis, one thing or the other, which highlights how deeply embedded patriarchy is and how difficult it is for women to find a place. Like it is said that for getting same validation and respect, a woman has to work double as hard as a man on any job, and that is true.
That is still true, you're
That
saying.
is still true, yes.
In 2025, that is still
In
true.
2025, Rashmi ma'am would agree with me that women officers, we still struggle to get, so-called male positions like commerce, industry, foreign affairs, defense, all of that. We usually land up in education, health. But I think that is a nurturing part also, because we do well there.
Yeah.
But it does not preclude us from, leading big departments as well. Like our Honorable Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has shown the world that if a woman is given an opportunity, she can trump 100 men at that. Thank you.
I wanted to add over here to Dr. Mrinalini that today maybe she can respond and say that it's not just a set to you, but to the society I am.
Yeah.
That's what makes it more special.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's not just singular and individual and insular, but it's the societal well-being that we look at, and even to the domain area. I mean, look at the interconnectedness with which women approach things.
Correct.
The kind of multidisciplinary, the interconnectedness which is needed for any complex problem. The solution lies in being the ability to connect the dots, and that's what women bring.
That's what you're going to do. We have last few minutes on this panel, so I thought let me do a fun segment. It's called Power Moves, and I would love for these very powerful, empowered women, and this is Powering Bharat, remember? So for women to sort of talk to me a little bit about that. I'm going to say a sentence and I want each of you to sort of finish that. Okay? I know Sohini's been quiet for a while, so let me give that to you. When a women officer is asked this question, power to me is not about control, it's about?
It's about getting it done.
It's about getting it done. Nice. Okay. Dr. Mrinalini then, true or false? Women make better crisis managers.
True.
Dr. Rashmi, being a woman in public service means constantly balancing what?
Mind, body and soul. I would say your own mind, body and soul.
That's a good one. Let me take a few more. And this is a favorite one, and I want this out of all of you. If leadership was a Bollywood movie, what character, what movie, or perhaps what dialogue would you most identify with? We'll begin with Dr. Mrinalini. Yeah.
God. Leaders, flower nahi, fire hai.
Ah, I like that.
Maybe try being Shah Rukh Khan from Chak De.
And say what?
I don't remember that. Chak De, India.
Okay. So, Dr. Rashmi.
हमसे बढ़कर कौन?
Ah, that one is nice. Okay, this one again for all three of you. I'll begin with Dr. Rashmi. My go-to power move before any high-stake meeting in a room filled with men is what?
Smile.
Kill it with kindness, she's saying basically. Dr. Mrinalini.
Just being me.
Just being there. I don't need a power move.
Wow, that's something. And since this is Powering Bharat, I have to ask you this. If there was one face or perhaps one move you could do today in your own respective fields to ensure more and more women participate, more and more women thrive, what would that be? Dr. Rashmi?
Stop the denial. Let their wishes be fulfilled. That's it. Thank you.
Nice.
Can you repeat the question, please?
I want to understand if there was one thing you could do in your own area of expertise to ensure that there is more women participation, there is more women who come out in their own, what would you do today?
I'll reach out to as many and talk. So that if they have anything to ask, if they have any reservations, if they're facing any hurdles, that is my job as an IS officer, to make the path easy for everybody to achieve their dreams. So reaching out is very, very important, because people have a lot of questions and they do not have access to a lot of answers. So I'll reach out.
Okay. Sohini?
I guess on similar lines, we have to be able to support and do that proactively, not just wait for someone to come and ask a question, but basically be there, reach out, and power and inspire.
Okay, last question then. One stereotype about women in leadership that you would have gleefully smashed would be what? I'll start with Sohini.
That you need to be aggressive to be successful.
Dr. Mrinalini?
There are so many. Women, minorities, underprivileged people, the stereotypes dog us all the time. So, like you said, crisis. In crisis, generally, nobody is going for a woman to lead in a crisis. So that is a big stereotype, that she may not be able to handle. That is a prejudice in everybody's mind, unless we come forward and prove that we can do it.
Smash it, yeah?
I feel that one of the stereotypes for women, and which impedes the participation of many working women, is that women put family first and profession later. So that's a stereotype that I really feel must break, because women, for me, are balancing both equally well, their personal life and professional life. So why is it that they are still discriminated against? Why is it that the numbers of working women today in the country is still far beyond the kind of mark that we would hope it to be? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful note to end the session on. Thank you all for joining us, and to this audience for listening into this very inspiring conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Rashmi Singh, Dr. Mrinalini Darswal, and Sohini Rajola. Thank you so much.